So this is the second video on learning how to corset the spine. So this is going to focus on using another yogic-based movement to help you develop more awareness of how to pull the abdominal muscles in while you're using them rather than letting them balloon out. So we're going to use a yogic movement known as Apanasana to work into this. I find that it's a really good step forward from the previous exercise that we did. So you're going to start once again in this relatively neutral position, right? Starting here with the knees bent. And what we're going to do is, so Apanasana is where you're bringing both knees into your chest. Most of you have probably seen this in a yoga class before or in other types of movements, but we're going to get really nitpicky about it. So the goal here, right, is ideally you're lifting both knees at the same time towards the chest while pulling the navel in towards the spine. So what that would look like is this. And notice how as I was doing that I was really working on pulling everything in. So the lower back is going to reach a little bit more towards the floor for this, which is okay as long as you're corseting. So what you're trying to avoid is the same thing in that previous video of this ballooning out as you lift up. And notice what happens to my whole spine as I do that. You can see how it kind of shifts back and forth like that. I think that awareness is a really good indicator of how well you're corseting. If you're really corseting everything in here, your torso shouldn't really move very much. It should feel pretty stable. And like I said in the last video, the really good thing about that is that actually allows for these movements to be more therapeutic because you have a stable base and then you're actually stretching in both directions. By pulling the knee towards the chest, you're actually stretching this side of your axis away and you're tractioning the spine. So start by just trying, after doing that previous exercise, to pull both knees into the chest at the same time. And see if this is possible for you without ballooning. So you can take your hand to your abdomen again. You can do it with both if you want. And see if you're able to slowly lift the legs off the floor without ballooning your abdomen. So it would look like this. Notice how the feet come to the floor softly. If you're having trouble with that, play around with doing one leg at a time. You exhale in. You inhale out. It's similar to what we did with the last exercise. You exhale in, you corset, you inhale out. And you do this maybe 5 to 10 times really slowly with your breathing, trying to access the corseting, right? And then after doing that a few times, try and do both legs again. You can play around with this. You can try lifting heels off the floor and seeing if bringing the feet closer to you makes a difference. Over time, as this becomes less foreign, it'll be easier for you to then be able to lift the knees off the floor at the same time. I tend to really think about feeling my hips on the floor. So if I'm pressing my hips down into the ground, it's actually going to help me to lift the legs. So play around with that exercise. This one is a little bit more difficult in general for a lot of people to access without this ballooning motion, but I think it's a good next step.